Then let our powers combine. Earth, fire,
Wind, water,
By your powers combined, I am Captain Planet!
You remember Captain Planet as a mullet-rocking eco-superhero summoned by 5 multicultural teens shouting, "Let our powers combine!" But what if I told you this colorful Saturday morning cartoon once went so far off the rails that a single episode was nearly wiped off television entirely? An episode so disturbing, so intense, it blurred the line between animated fiction and real-world tragedy. It was season 3, and everything changed. By the time this episode was over, 1 teenager was dead, millions of viewers were stunned, and Captain Planet had crossed the line no other kids' cartoon dared to approach. But to understand why this episode caused such a stir, we have to go back to the early 90s, when Ted Turner had a vision that shocked the industry and tried to save the world, one cartoon at a time. The year was 1990. The Cold War was ending, grunge war was rising, and cartoons were still mostly about transforming robots and anthropomorphic turtles. Enter Ted Turner, media tycoon, eccentric billionaire, and hardcore environmentalist? Yeah, he wanted to change the world, starting with Saturday mornings. So, he created Captain Planet and the Planeteers, an animated call to action disguised as a superhero show. It wasn't just about entertainment. It was a mission to teach kids about zone depletion, oil spills, endangered species, and deforestation. Each Planeteer represented a continent and a natural element. Kwame with earth, Wheeler with fire, Linko with wind, G with water, and Mati, the most mysterious, with heart. Their powers combined to summon Captain Planet, the green-mulleted eco-warrior who could literally punch pollution in the face.
For now, I'll handle Greedly and the spill. You can help those animals.
right.
It was cheesy, it was peachy, but it worked for a while. Because Captain Planet wasn't just fighting pollution, he was fighting a rising tide of apathy. And while the early seasons were hopeful, later seasons got heavier, reflecting real-world urgency. As the series matured, so did its messaging. The writers started getting bold. Episodes addressed racism, nuclear arms, even HIV/AIDS. They weren't afraid to rattle cages, but nothing compared to the moment they decided to take on drug addiction. And that's where our story takes a very dark turn. Season 3, Episode 1, titled Mind Pollution. Sounds tame, right? Like a metaphor about social media or peer pressure. Wrong. The episode centered on a highly addictive functional drug called Bliss. And unlike other cartoon drugs that made people sleepy or act silly, Bliss was portrayed as devastating. The episode begins with Linka visiting her cousin Boris in a gritty urban neighborhood, already a departure from the usually lush natural settings of other episodes. But something's off. Boris looks jittery, paranoid. He's hanging with a rough crowd that seems more after-school special than environmental villainy. Enter Verminous Scum, a grotesque, rat-faced humanoid whose presence alone is unsettling. But this time, he's not spreading pollution or disease. He's pushing a product, a pink capsule that glows ominously. He calls it Bliss. And when people take it, their eyes glaze over. They stumble around in euphoria, but then comes the crash. Tremors, hallucinations, rage, addiction. Boris becomes hooked almost instantly.
Go on, get Bliss now. Nothing can bring you down now.
The episode escalates fast. He steals from Linka, he lashes out, he spirals, and then he overdoses. Yes, he dies. On screen. In a kid's cartoon, Linka finds him, tries to wake him, holds his body, and sobs. It's one of the most graphic and emotionally raw moments in any children's show ever. Even Captain Planet shows up too late to help. He stares down Verminous Scum with fury, but even his powers can't undo what's been done. And just like that, a Saturday morning cartoon became a grim cautionary tale about addiction, death, and consequences. When Mind Pollution aired, the backlash was instant. Parents flooded the network hotlines with complaints. Too traumatic, they said. Too dark. Too real. Stations in some markets immediately pulled the episode from syndication. Others added content warnings, a first for many animated shows at the time. This was the first Saturday morning cartoon with a TV PG rating. Some teachers and advocacy groups praised the boldness. Finally, they said, a cartoon that tells it like it is. But others accused the show of traumatizing children and exploiting tragedy for shock value. And this wasn't a fringe episode buried in the middle of the season. This was the season premiere. A statement. Captain Planet wasn't just fighting for Earth anymore, he was fighting for souls. And the writers weren't pulling punches. But why go that far? Why risk backlash and bans? To answer that, we need to look at the enemies Captain Planet was truly up against, and how the show used horror to reflect real-life fears. Most cartoons gave us mustache-twirling villains or aliens with goofy accents. Captain Planet, on the other hand, gave us psychological horror in pastel colors. Take Dr. Blight, a rogue scientist with a face half covered by metal. She's brilliant, calculating, and remorseless. One episode reveals she poisoned her own sister with radiation in a test. Oh, and she's voiced by Meg Ryan, making her the most disturbingly seductive villain on TV.
Au contraire, my rambunctious rodent. With my new invention, the Planeteers will be our best buddies.
Then there's Hoggus Greedly, a corporate caricature of greed, gluttony, and unchecked capitalism. He drills into pristine landscapes, dumps waste into oceans, and laughs as he profits from destruction. He's not just bad, he's real. And finally, Verminous Scum, the villain of Mind Pollution. He's a humanoid rat with yellow teeth, red eyes, and a voice like nails on a chalkboard. He deals in fear, disease, manipulation, and death. Some episodes even imply he's spreading a virus that resembles AIDS. He's not just gross, he's terrifying. These weren't just villains, they were allegories. Every one of them personified a real-world threat: corruption, pollution, addiction, nuclear war. And kids felt it.
The whole world will be one big scumball, led by me and my gangs.
So when Scum introduced Bliss, it wasn't just a cartoon drug. It was a monster that millions of families recognized. And that made it too close to home. Captain Planet didn't want to sell you toys. It wanted to sell you responsibility. The creators knew they were walking a tightrope. They could either wrap their messages in bright colors and humor, or they could hit kids with a new, raw, painful truth and trust they could handle it. And incredibly, it worked. Over the years, countless scientists, activists, and educators have credited Captain Planet as the show that opened their eyes. It wasn't just about saving whales, it was about saving us. The show tackled genocide, climate collapse, bioweapons, hate speech, illegal animal trafficking, and child labor. One episode had children held hostage in a war zone. Another showed Captain Planet melting in radioactive waste, screaming in agony. Imagine seeing that on a Saturday morning cartoon. Well, it happened. These images weren't fantasy. They mirrored real headlines that kids saw on the news or lived through. And Mind Pollution? That was the episode where the consequences were too personal to ignore. Boris didn't just die. He represented every teen lost to addiction, every cousin, sibling, or friend who never made it out. Viewers remember that scene not just because it was tragic, but because it was the first time a cartoon admitted that actions have irreversible consequences. It didn't blink. It didn't offer a reset button. And in a world full of sugar-coated lessons, Captain Planet stood alone, treating its audience not like children, but like the future leaders they would one day become. Pretty powerful stuff for a cartoon from the 90s.
That's why it's so important to burn less of those fuels that pollute the atmosphere and make Earth hotter.
Can people stop this?
We must. The power is yours.
So, was Mind Pollution too dark for kids? Or was it exactly what we needed? Today, most cartoons play it safe. But back then, Captain Planet asked the big questions. And sometimes, it answered them with tragedy. The show didn't just entertain. It educated, it challenged, it warned. And it left a legacy that echoes even now. In environmental policies, school curriculums, and yes, the haunted memories of kids who watched a beloved character die in the middle of a cartoon. Did you see the drug episode when it aired? Did it scare you, educate you, or both? Drop your memories in the comments. I'll be reading all of them. So if you grew up on cartoons that weren't afraid to get real and want more deep dives into the wild, weird, and sometimes shocking truths behind your childhood favorites, go ahead and like this video, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Trust me, the next one might blow your mind even harder. The power is yours.